bosses in our life, authority, things that are controlling you. And we're kind of finishing up this week, so we're going to start off with a quiz. Not a quiz, a question. How many hours per day does the average teenager stare at a phone?
C.
Screen. That's screen.
C.
C?
B.
Everybody says B?
B.
If I were to think about it, I'd say B.
You're going to think about it and say D, 9+ hours a day?
I'd say C and
A or B. That's what I do.
B. Me, I'm a 1. I'm an
All
A.
day.
I do 55 minutes on there.
55 minutes a day?
Yep, I got the screen time.
I like it.
on.
Until
Whatever.
John,
Oh, yeah.
does this count? Like,
No, I just
this
put
ring?
Fortnite.
Answer the question, does that count?
Yeah.
What for Amish?
You're not Amish though. It's an interesting what if, something we know that's not true. Alright, so how many do we think? You think C? Is that the consensus? D?
D.
Alright, no, the answer is C, 6 to 9 hours a day. Yes, that is a large chunk of the day. 6 to 9 hours a day.
Okay, I was 69.
6 to 9. Not 69. It's only 24 hours in a day.
No, that's 69. That's what they want you to think.
Yes, you're right. That's what they want you to do. Alright. Who spends more time in front of the screen, guys or girls?
Girls.
Obviously, women.
Guys.
What do the women say?
Guys.
Guys.
Video games.
Fortnite.
This is
Pinterest and Snapchat.
I don't have that. There's girls out there.
Alright.
Shopping online. I don't even know how to do that. Shopping.
Girls
I don't know how to do that.
Get out of control. The answer is guys. Spend hours a day. Yeah, screen. Fortnite.
What's Fortnite?
Never heard of it.
I'm not about
I wonder why.
Fortnite.
There's a
No, I don't
man.
know Fortnite. So here's my question. Are you obsessed with your screen?
No.
Yes?
No.
No? Maybe?
I admit I have a problem.
You admit you have a problem?
I spend
Girl,
an hour
make
on
it
my
a dance.
phone.
Basketball screen. That's what you talk about TV screen? Alright. Alright, so we are going to be talking about obsession. What we don't like to think about is your obsession a lot of times can be translated back to dependency. You depend upon it. You have to have it. It's a thing that you check without you even know it. And you look at it and you don't even realize you've done it. First thing you wake up in the morning, you check your phone. First thing you do in the morning is you look at a TV. The first thing you do is check that. Whenever you have a free time, you check it. You become dependent upon it. Does that make sense? You become dependent upon it. You have to have it. Our obsessions are simply things that take our attention. They're simply things that take your attention. Right? Easy enough? It's not complicated. I think you guys are at the point in your life where you know if you're obsessed or not. And if you ever have the question of if you're obsessed with something or not, or addicted to something or not, you need to try to stop doing it for a week. And if you can't stop doing it for a week, then that's pretty much your answer.
Oh, I thought you were making us.
Mike,
stop.
my youth pastor said no more math homework.
Hey!
It's not what I said.
You said
Stop what I said.
we want to somewhere. Whose was that?
Right, obsession is about attention. Shh. You gotta go. Down back. Obsession is about attention. It's whatever you give your attention to. Alright, so open up the Bible, Exodus. Exodus, we should know where that is by now.
The
Exodus.
second to last book of the Bible.
You guys are crazy.
I'm at Exodus. I'm at
Give me back over Exodus 20.
35.
35.
It starts with a G, right? It's page 61.
So,
Wait, is it Exodus 35?
20. Exodus 20. We have been talking about We have been talking about what you're obsessed with. We've been talking about obsession. We're talking about things in your life that take your focus. But we've been talking about idols all week. I know, contrary to what you guys seem to like to tell me, you're not going to your house and making idols in your backyard. You're not making golden calves and worshiping it. You're not worshiping Baal anymore. But there are things in your life that have taken your focus, and there are things in your life that tell you what to do. And there are things in your life that are controlling you in the same way an idol would have controlled you, or does control you. Right? We talked about your obsession with being in control. There is a level of it being healthy. You guys should be making your own decisions, more of your own decisions. Hopefully making good decisions. But some of y'all have taken it to a point that you're obsessed with yourself. You've become an idol and you're obsessed with every little thing that'll make you happy. Then we talked about stuff. Some of y'all are obsessed with your stuff. Say, man, I have to have more of it. I have to constantly achieve more of it. I can't ever give any of it away. You're obsessed with your stuff and you're allowing those things to make your decisions for you. And then we talked last week about fear, anxiety. And some of you guys are allowing that to take control of your life. You've allowed your fear to take control and tell you what you need to do and what you shouldn't be doing. So you're not allowing God to help lead your life and point you in the right direction. You're allowing fear to make those decisions. So we're going to be talking about another idol. Somebody read 20, Exodus 20, 1 through 3.
And God spoke all these words, saying, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. You shall have no gods before me.
You shall have no gods before me. And so thus this series, talking about these idols or these gods in your life. And so we come to the last one of the series, and our last idol, we're going to use a phone. Now, be very clear, you can be addicted to a lot of different things. And some of y'all are not necessarily addicted to your phone, but you're addicted to other things. But we're going to use a phone to kind of talk about that. Talk about idols in your life. Talk about things that are controlling your thoughts, things you become obsessed with, things you become dependent upon. All right, so go to Matthew 6, 21. Go to Matthew 6, 21. Get a page when you get there.
It said 473.
473?
I think so.
800.
It said 6.
Are you
Yep,
guessing, sir?
621.
Oh, it's
473 in the blue Bibler. Jesus takes a minute to talk about obsession. Jesus takes a minute to talk about that having control over our lives. So we're going to do 21 through 23. See that? Matthew 6, 21 through 23. All right. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The eye is the lamp to the body, so if your eye is healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light is darkness, the light in you is darkness, how great is the darkness? We have to deal with the first false assumption that you can watch and do whatever you want and it won't have effect on you. Buddy, that is wrong. It's absolutely incorrect. What you see, what you listen to, and what you do will have effect on you. Your eye is the lamp to the body. What you see, it gets in you. Right? And that's the only thing you can produce. He's talking about if all you view is darkness, you have become darkness. How great is that darkness? How powerful is it? So we need to think about what has your focus? What has your focus in your life? What is taking control of you? What have you become obsessed with? What are you spending all your time thinking about? What is taking your free time? What is taking your time awake thinking? Obsessed with it. You know, guys, it could be your phone, it could be Instagram, it could be Snapchat, it could be Facebook. When you guys get older and start getting jobs, it could be your email. Right? These things can become obsessive, and you can take it and you become dependent upon it. You say, I have to have it. I have to have my phone. I have to have my computer. I have to have my TV, or I can't function. I can't sit there by myself and think about this stuff. And it begins to take you in, it begins to drive your decisions. I'm not asking you this to make you feel bad, because we all have things in our life we're struggling with. I'm asking you this to make sure we are self-aware of what is going on in our life. If there's something in your life that is consuming your focus 24/7, you are obsessed and you're dependent upon that, and you're focused. You've begun to let things get out of focus and you've begun to hold on to that. Right? Whether it's video games, social media, pornography, sex, alcohol, drugs, your phone, food, that person you really like, or whatever else. Here's the point. Our biggest, most destructive obsessions always started somewhere small. But with time and more attention continue to grow. The issue is the things we become focused on, things we become obsessed with, usually started somewhere very small, somewhere very harmless. We become obsessed with those things. Maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's your phone, maybe it's TV, maybe it's getting likes on Instagram or likes on Facebook. Maybe it's making sure you're liked in school. Whatever the case may be, that has taken your focus, that has taken control over your life. It has become the boss of your actions. It has become the authority in your life, constantly telling you what you should be doing and how you should be doing it. So go to 1 Corinthians. Go to 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians 10.
10.
10.
10.
10.
Yeah,
Wait,
Give
what
me a page
chapter?
number.
557.
5, what?
557.
557. 557.
What chapter?
10.
Okay. 10.
We have been talking about in Sunday school, if you've been there, talking about how the Jews believed you're saved by the law. You had to do works. You had to make sure you watched what you ate, you watched what you did. On Sunday morning, or Saturday morning on Sabbath, you could only take a certain number of steps. They believed that. Paul comes along and says you're no longer saved by the law, you're saved by grace. And so with that came a lot of freedom. Right? Makes sense. You're no longer saved by the law, you're saved by grace. And with that came a ton of freedom. And so we begin to contradict that, and we begin to work through that, and what they started doing was they started doing anything and everything. And Paul's saying, wait a second. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Yeah? Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And just because something is not harmful now doesn't mean it won't be harmful later. Or it doesn't become harmful when you become obsessed with it. So if somebody read for me 10:23. 1 Corinthians 10:23.
All these things are lawful, but not all these things are helpful. All things are lawful, but not all these things are good.
Yeah, that's it. Not all these things build you up. Just because you're allowed to do it doesn't necessarily mean you should. As you guys grow up, and as you guys are getting older, you're getting your cars, you're getting phones, and you guys are starting to move out, get your own money. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Make sense? Just because you're allowed to doesn't always mean you're supposed to. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Just because you can doesn't mean it's good for you. Just because you can doesn't mean it won't take control and hold of your life. That's what Paul is saying here. All things are lawful, but not all things are helpful. All things are lawful, but not all things will build you and the other people around you up. He's saying be careful. Be careful. It's like video games. I don't know if there's necessarily anything wrong with video games. But spending 24/7 thinking about video games and playing video games, and every day you have off over your last 3 weeks, you spent the entire time staring at a screen in front of video games, there comes a point where that's no longer healthy. It's no longer good for you. It's no longer what you're supposed to be doing. We've got to understand, just because you're addicted to something or obsessed with something is not going to remove you out of the love of Christ. It's not going to remove you from God. God's not going to be like, well, there you go, you played Fortnite for the 15th straight hour. That's it, it's done. I'm cutting you off. It's over. But being obsessed with something and being addicted to something can remove and hurt you and keep you from being who God wants you to be. And keep you from doing what God has called you to do in your life. Does that make sense? You will not be outside of God's love because you're addicted to something you shouldn't be looking at or doing or participating in, but it will keep you from being who God has called you to be. So we come to this verse. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. So how do we defeat the God of obsession? Simply, we shift our focus. Hello? We shift our focus. We've begun to change our focus from whatever we have become addicted to, and we focus on something else. We change our focus. God, almost done. We have to change our focus from whatever we have become addicted to back to Christ. And let me tell you, getting past an addiction, you will never do that accidentally. You will never accidentally stop doing something you're not supposed to be doing. You will never accidentally not be addicted to something anymore. It takes conscious decision and conscious effort. And if you are addicted to something you shouldn't be, if you are tied up in something you should not be, you need to find somebody to help you. The Bible says, confess our sins one to another for healing. Does that make sense? When we become obsessed and addicted to stuff, we have to move our focus from that back to Christ, and we have to make conscious decisions to move past that. So kind of to illustrate the point that sometimes things we get into and become addicted to and obsessed with aren't always bad or aren't always the way we see them. Here's a little picture to kind of help illustrate that point.
It's a cat. It looks like a rat.
It's a cat.
It's a rat. It's a bat. It's a rat. It's a
All right, so
bat.
who saw the mouse first?
There's a mouse.
Oh, I see a mouse.
Who saw the cat first? All right.
I saw the bat first.
Hopefully hopefully this helps a little bit. As you focused on it more and looked at it more, you can start to see the other thing. If you saw the cat, you're like, oh, I can see the mouse. If you saw the mouse, you're like, oh, wait, if I take a step back, I can see the cat.
I could see one of those like animals with like the really big ears. Like they kind
Like
of
that?
Like
elephant.
that?
Like
a
No,
fox.
it's like a fox, but it's like
Oh.
really
There you
It's
go.
a bat.
Fox have like-
There are things in our life. There are things in our life that on the onset may seem harmless, may seem easy, but the closer we get to it, the more we focus upon it, we begin to realize that it's something else entirely. And these things begin to take control of your life and grab you and hold you down. Just because it's harmless now doesn't mean it won't be harmless later when you spend all your time obsessed with it. And just because you can doesn't mean you should. Does that kind of make sense? Like I said, there's some things that we're obsessed with that are harmless. Like I said, I don't think video games, there's any problem with video games. But spending all your time 24/7 playing video games is no longer a healthy habit in your life. And that can go for anything. Go for Instagram, go for Facebook, go for TV. There's nothing wrong with watching a little TV. But when it becomes our focus, 100% of our time is focused on it, it begins to be destructive in our lives. Does all that make sense?
Yes.
All right.